has a taste. We all have food that reminds us of home. My earliest memory of childhood was of eating steamed clams at my grandmother's camp on Copsicante Lake. My sweet Uncle Jack would cook these clams in beer. We would all join around the deck table of the camp and devour these delicious clams with drawn butter. It was the taste of summer in Maine. Steamers are like no other. They are salty, gritty, and full of flavor. And steamers are harvested all along the coast of Maine. There is no finer venue to enjoy Maine Steamers than Jay's Oyster in Portland, Maine. Established in 1978 by Janice Noyes, this family-run waterfront institution is currently run by Janice's daughters, Cindy and Colleen. They have been steaming clams since the beginning and serve these clams with no frills, the clams in their truest form with butter. One beautiful morning in Maine, we welcome Justin of Chartrand Imports to sample some of his organic wines with steamed clams at Jay's Oyster in Portland, Maine. Chartrand Imports is a Maine-based import company specializing in organic wines, specifically wines from France. On the day, we tasted 3 wines from France: an organic grower champagne, a white Bordeaux blend, and a Grenache rosé from Languedoc.
Why not start with champagne?
I love champagne.
So, this one in particular, as we said, it was 100% Pinot Meunier.
Organic.
Certified since the dawn of time. And I think what we really want to get out of the champagne is sort of that orchard fruit, peach, lychee intake.
A little bit of yeast too, which is nice.
Cheers. Happy summer.
Yeah.
In Maine.
That's delightful. That's yummy.
Should we try it with a steamer?
Steamers? Yeah, absolutely. So we're all set up here.
Yeah, I think often when you think about sparkling wine, right, you think Prosecco, you think Cava. But if you get an opportunity, or Cremant, yeah, right.
Really, really good with champagne as well.
Awesome. So you're picking up that stone fruit and that lychee feel, great acid,
And it brings
good
out
structure.
the earthiness in the clams as well.
Yeah, a little herbaceous thing going on. Awesome.
Wonderful. Should we move on to the next one?
I think we should.
Okay.
Okay. The next one for me, I mean, this is just classic again. Sauvignon Blanc. And what do we think with the Sauvignon Blanc? It's the body, it's the sort of wildflower take on the wine, it's any sort of wildflower grass, field, openness take on the Sauvignon Blanc. And the Semillon is your acid, right? The structure. And the Muscadel, about 10% in this one, is the aroma, right? So when we smell this, and when we look at that breakdown, we should be able to get a really nice nose.
Sure. It's very floral. Like
And
apricots, peaches,
Yeah, it
stone fruit.
It almost reminds me of the beach roses that are out now everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and Patrick Boudon has been certified organic since 1968.
Very good.
So at the time, he was
Wow, that's amazing.
he was one of the first.
Funny because on the palate it's slightly sweet, but then when you taste it, it has a little bit more of salinity, which would go really well with the clams too. So it's sort of not as round fruit on the palate, which is nice.
Totally. Yeah.
And you have a nice dry finish to that too, which is really what you want with clams. I always say to people when they're here, if they want to have steamed clams, they should always have one of the drier wines that we have, or maybe even Prosecco for that matter.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I think for me, you want that acid, right? Like,
and doing a little bit of acid, but you understand you also eat steamed clams with butter, so you have this total earthiness and the saltiness of the clams, but then you have the butter, which sort of makes it a little creamy. So you could have Chardonnay with it, but I just personally wouldn't. But this is perfect. This is wonderful.
On the shelf, they range from mid-30s, upper 30s, about $15.
That's great value. This wine is delicious. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome glass porter restaurant.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome, just be able to get it to your house, have it as your go-to Sauvignon Blanc in the fridge.
Entertaining.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
So instead of choosing a red, we went with the rosé.
Sure.
And I think, it's 80 degrees outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I would never have red with steamers anyway, so.
Right. We could play around with that idea.
Yeah.
But Grenache is such a user-friendly rosé. Great.
Absolutely.
Right? Very little skin contact on
Sometimes
this.
floral and a little bit of spice too.
So this is grape sourced from Languedoc. We began in Champagne. So the biggest city in Champagne is Rheims, and we're up here, pretty far north. As we know, only about an hour train ride from Paris. And they're right in an area called Vendières, which is a southwest-facing slope known for Pinot Meunier. From there, we went down to Bordeaux, past Loire. This is Chenin Blanc, Cab Franc territory. came down to Bordeaux, and Entre deux Mers translates to between the two rivers. And the reason why Bordeaux is so famous is because it has that river that goes through, and you have the North Bank and the South Bank, and Entre deux Mers is between the two. So it's known for the white grapes, the Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, Muscadel, and of course Cabernet, Merlot, and Cab Franc. Now we moved south, and we're over in sort of a lesser-known area called Languedoc. And Languedoc sort of merges into the Rhone, right? Yeah. And you have the Mistral winds that roll through here.
Nice cool breezes.
Nice cool breeze, lots of salinity.
Lots of sunlight because they're so far south too.
And warmth. To be certified organic, you're held to a very strict standard in Europe. So no more than 100 parts per million of sulfites. So all of these are under 100 parts per million of sulfite use.
But they're also not sprayed with pesticides, and that's the key to organics.
100%.
So the key is spraying with pesticides, because the pesticides may save the grapes. At the same time, too, they pollute the environment, or the groundwater, for that matter.
Right.
In places that are saturated, like Champagne, for example, where they spray liberally. And what happens then is when you drive around Champagne, the grass is yellow everywhere, except for the one patch of green, and you know that's an organic vineyard because it has flowers and grass.
Right.
So
you can see it with your eyes.
If you don't have biodiversity in the vineyard, then you can't have grapes that grow to their best extent, in my opinion.
You know, it makes me wonder why
This is delicious.
why people
This is
even
perfect
grow
with
conventional when you can see with your eyes and see, you know, stagnant brown earth, and then you see wildflowers. To me, there's no
Organics and
question
biodynamics,
about
in my
it.
opinion, are the way of the future. And I've been saying this for a long time. But
Yeah.
luckily, people like yourself and Paul Chartrand are out, promoting these wines constantly, because for a long time there was a general consensus that people that organic wine, it didn't matter. It didn't make a difference. There was no difference in taste. There was no real difference in quality. But now that I say to people all the time, I'm like, well, here's the thing. If you're going to go to Whole Foods and buy organic produce, why on earth would you put organic wine on your table?
Absolutely.
It just makes sense. If you're going to try to avoid pesticides, then you really should do it with the wine that you drink.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Cheers.
Oh,
Let's
it's so
finish
good
with
to be
champagne.
here.
How's that sound?
I think that sounds like a very wise decision.
Maine has a rich history of Native American and French culture. It is little wonder that the French love Maine so much. Maine has the best seafood in the world, steamers included. Many thanks to Chartrand Imports for providing us with delicious organic wines from France, and for Jay's Oyster for letting us dine and taste. This has been Vine Time TV with Melanie Bolduc.
There's no place like home.